The Department of State Services, that's the DSS, has arrested about 7 Polish nationals for allegedly raising the Russian flag during protests in Kano State. The spokesperson of the DSS, Peter Afunanya, revealed this during a meeting with members of the diplomatic corps. According to him, those picked up are being investigated, further assuring that their arrest was not a targeted attempt on Polish nationals. With the protests dwindling, the federal government had appealed to Nigerians to trust in the administration of President Bola Tinubu to address their grievances. Joining us via Zoom for this conversation is a safety and security expert. He is also the managing director, Daraflares Consulting Limited, Taiwo Ogungbenro. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. All right, let's begin this conversation head on. We know that the DSS is investigating this matter, so we'll just focus on the matter of foreign interference in domestic affairs. Recall that before this protest happened, the security agencies had come out to say that they had intelligence report that some persons were looking to hijack the protest. But the protesters insisted on going ahead with the protest, which they say is the constitutional right, and the government even agreed to that. But when you look at what has gone on in the countries of the Sahel, when you talk about Mali, Niger, Sudan, Burkina Faso, some would say these seemingly interference that we have seen did not come as a surprise. I wonder if you share the same view.
Okay, in every country there is always interference, not only during protests in terms of business and security, but for me, it's too premature to talk about the foreign interference, because we still need to wait for the security agencies to come out with their findings and be able to identify those external bodies, individual organizations or nations that are involved or trying to interfere in the protest. But all that being said, we're in a global market. If you look at the social media, a lot has to be done in terms of regulating the kind of information that go around, and citizens too have to be responsible the kind of information they pass around. And if you look at where the raising of Russian flag is predominant in the north, majority of people that are holding those flags, we all know that the level of literacy in the north is on the high side, and probably some political jobbers are trying to leverage on that to use them to change the narrative of the protest from a peaceful protest to riot and chaos that we've seen across some of the northern states. But all that being said, a lot has to be done on the part of the government, the citizen. We have to be responsible the kind of information we pass across. From the government end, a lot has to be done to regulate. We own our cyberspace, so we need to regulate the kind of information that fly around, because there is what they call social engineering. We can actually manipulate people to think in a particular direction using the social media as a tool. And if you look at this protest, a lot has been done in terms of passing information that are not true. As fine, the country is hard, things are quite expensive. But if you look at the price of things, when you check from the market and the kind of price you get online, there are a lot of gap from the information you get online and the reality when you go to the market to price things. And it's really eating the policy. So a lot has to be done from the end of the government to regulate our cyberspace. I know there's laws that have been passed by the National Assembly to regulate what our cyberspace. So a lot has to be done, because based on our findings, we realized that most of all these misinformation that actually hit the polity was being disseminated through the social media, which I don't have control over that. I think the regulatory agencies, in terms of probably National Communication Commission, can actually work with other agencies to ensure that the kind of information that are being passed across the country are being regulated.
Taiwo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. It seems you didn't get my question earlier because I was talking about, yes, we are going to focus on foreign interference, especially what we have seen in countries like the Sahel, Niger, Burkina Faso, and all of it. And I said that there are some persons who said they were not surprised with the same people raising foreign flags, that because of what has happened in other countries, neighboring countries, it should have been expected.
Well, if I'm to address your question in terms of what happened in Niger and what is happening in Nigeria now, I agree that by extension, what happened in our neighboring country can has a direct effect on how we respond to issues. But why I can't really comment on that or share that thought is because we already seen what played out in Nigeria in terms of the coup and the role different different countries actually come out with their submission as regards to what happened in Nigeria and what their stand. Or as we speak, it's very premature to align what happened in Nigeria to what is happening in Nigeria now, because no any country has actually aligned with the thought of the people that are raising Russian flag. Even you can see that even the Russian embassy have actually come out to say that they have nothing to do with individuals raising Russian flag in Nigeria. So that's what I'm saying. Like in case of Niger, you know, it's a clear case of what happened, the coup that happened in Nigeria, and different countries have actually come out with their stand as regards to what they stand for in terms of what happened in Niger. But in the case of this protest, it's too premature to actually align that with that of Niger, considering the fact that what happened in our neighboring country can have a direct effect on what happened in our own country as well. But it's too premature to actually align the objective of those raising Russian flag in the northern part of the country to what happened in Niger and also. But all that being said, a lot has to be done in sensitization. You know, national regional agencies need to orient people, because a lot of people that are on the street protesting, raising those Russian flag, if you sit them and ask them why are they raising the flag, you'll be surprised what they will say.
All right, Taiwo, if you can hear me, I just want to pick it up from what you said earlier and what you just even mentioned, that I would really not, or some persons may not, agree with you on tilting towards illiteracy. You mentioned that there is a high level of illiteracy in the northern region. It will seem as though those who were raising the flag, some persons will not agree that they are not, unaware of what they were doing, because they also voiced calling Russia for aid, calling Russia for help. So in terms of, how this, puts out the nation and what implication this will have on the sovereignty of the nation, what message do you think those who probably decided to sponsor this wanted to pass across, maybe to the government, maybe to the protesters and also security agencies?
For me, from the inception of this protest, there has not been a clear demand. Some are talking about this first subsidy. There are certain issues that Nigerians want government to address because of the number of subsidy, floating of dollar, and increase in electricity tariff. It has a direct effect on the economy and the livelihood. But most of the conveyor of the protest has been saying bad governance. That's not a clear demand from a democratically elected government. So if there is hike in price of goods, the economics, there is hardship in the land, there should be a clear picture or itemized request from the government. So for me, people that are raising the flag, even one of the protesters wrote that Russian government should come to their aid. And in clear terms, the Russian embassy came out to debunk any association with that. So for me, I understand the fact that there are motives behind all this, but it's premature for any expert to come out and say this is the motive and these are the because it's only the security agencies that have adequate intelligence that can actually come out to the stand and say these are the motive of people that are behind this protest, and this is what they intend to achieve at the end of the day. So for me, for my own end, I will just appeal to Nigerians to be law-abiding and, give peace a chance. Because if anybody come out to say these are their motives, it's an assumption, and you don't talk on security matters on assumption. You need to get your facts right before you don't assume on security matters. And the only people that can come out with affirmative statements are the security agencies.
All right.
So
let's go back to something you said earlier, talking about the role of the social media at fueling some of the interference that we are seeing. You talked about citizens being responsible. I recall that some time ago, the government wanted to manage, regulate the social media, its use. But we saw how non-governmental organizations, a lot of persons were speaking against it, saying that they were being gagged and their rights to freedom of expression was being infringed upon. So how can the government manage, the social media as it is in critical times as this?
Okay, in terms of what the government can do to manage social media, different countries, if you travel out of Nigeria, you realize that when you get to different countries, there are even some of your social media handles that you have limitation on things that you can actually use. And based on my own findings, majority of people that are at the forefront of clamoring for these protests on the social media, majority of them are not in Nigeria presently. Some even have dual citizen that if anything goes wrong, they have another country to move to. Now, from the end of the government has to do a lot in terms. I know when they talk about legislation, a lot of people came out to say no, they want to inflict on their right and all that. So, but the government is still the one that will put in measures in place to regulate all these things. Because apart from what we see on the social media, the government has that control to actually regulate things from the back end and look at what people are, as in what is happening, from the intelligence angle. So for me, the government has that sole responsibility to see how they can regulate all these activities within the ambit of the law. So Nigeria government sets the pace within the ambit of the law. So if reckless use of social media can create a national security issue, then the government can actually take measures to ensure that these things are regulated within the ambit of the law. There are a lot government can do from the back end. So,
but do the people trust the government to do what is necessary for them? Do the people trust the government that it's in their best interest that is looking at regulating social media? Recall, like we mentioned earlier, that this protest, the Department of the State Service, as well as other security agencies, had come out to say, guys, do not go ahead with this protest. We have seen that some persons want to hijack it. Yet they did not trust government enough to ensure that it's protected them. Even the measures put in place where the police had said, give us your names, your details, but they refused. So how do we ensure that the people and the government work hand in glove towards security of the country as it is?
Now, if you look at other part of the world, a lot of crime syndicates have been brought down with the help of social media. And I will cite an example. The case of Hush Puppy, one of the tools that were used to monitor his activity was the social media. So basically, the lot that the security agency can actually leverage on technological advancement to regulate what happened on our social media. Okay, because for me, I can only see a post. I can't actually identify the IP of that person posting that content. But I think from the security agency's end, with the help of technology, they can actually pinpoint where and when any information is coming from. So there is a lot that can be done from the end of the security agencies. And Nigerians, I think we need to be adequately informed as regards to what we do on social media. As the government still needs to do more in sensitizing people on the use of social media, because you will see someone posting that someone lost someone, and you see like 10,000 likes. Do you like the fact that that person died, or because people just see post and they put like, they share, and they say, I just share it now because I just saw it. But people need to be informed that you sharing a content or liking a content is as good as you approving that content. So in terms of sensitization, across the board, government agencies need to, do more in terms of sensitizing people on the use of social media. And from the government end, a lot of technology can be used to censor activities on the social media, because from the back end, the government has more information and more access than we, the users. So,
all right,
the government can actually do more in terms of actually regulating and censoring what comes into our cyberspace.
All right, Taro, if you can hear me. So some security experts have also, apart from the awareness that you mentioned on social media, also talked about the need to, sensitize people on their individual responsibility as regards the security of the nation. They've attributed the fact that this protest, to an extent, was also being, interrupted by foreigners, probably those we're sharing our borders with. So you're a security expert. Do you have any solutions as regards manning our borders and also, raising more awareness on individual responsibility as regards security? I'm sure some of these people raising these flags are not, people unknown to those living in that region.
I know that from the end of the government, the Minister of Interior has actually rolled out a lot of measures to regulate the inflows and record of foreigners that are coming through our land borders. And I think they need to do more, because for me, the moment you can regulate or you have record of foreigners that come into the country through the land borders and legitimately come into the land border, then if anything goes otherwise, they can be held accountable. So, but like I said earlier, government needs to do more in terms of actually regulating people that comes in through our land borders to Nigeria. We have a lot of borders that connect to different countries, to Chad, to Benin, Republic of Benin, to Cameroon. So from the end of the government, like the minister said some time ago, that there's a lot of work that is being done. And I think from that angle too, we need to actually give the government a little more time to see how those policies they are putting in place in that regard works out. But like a very valid point, we need to see how we can actually regulate people that comes in, ensure that people that comes in, foreigners that are coming to Nigeria, come in legitimately, and the government has their record. So it's a very good point, and it's an angle that both the government and apart from government, let me even digress a bit. Apart from government, we the citizen need to live up to some of our responsibilities as well, because from every of our land borders, when people you see foreigners come in to do business at the border, and you see them, the Nigerian Immigration Services try their best to ensure that people that comes in are being documented, or even from the citizen as well. When you notice,
Taiwo, if you can hear me, I need to quickly ask you this question before we let you go, because our time is almost up. The implication of these kinds of interference, what it is domestically and internationally. Help us better situate it for the education of our viewers as well.
Well, the implication of this is for the country, the government need to respond to this diplomatically, which the government is already doing, because in as much as we are trying to identify those foreign players, we need to ensure that we don't break diplomatic ties with countries that, you know, Nigeria already have existing diplomatic ties with. And all that being said, we need to understand the fact that every country or society has their norms and values, and when we allow foreign interference to dominate our norms and values, what the implication is, the kind of things that we seeing here and there. So what we need to have at the back of our mind is, in as much as we believe we borrowed code, every society borrowed ideas and policies, but we need to understand the fact that, understand the implication of some of all these policies. Is it something that can be domesticated in our society? So if people are clamoring for, like what some people are clamoring for, military takeover, is that the solution? We are calling for Russia and Taiwan. No, is that the solution? So rather than we looking at the pain Nigerians are going through and asking for things that will have a long-term negative effect on even more than what we are facing now, you know, we need to be mindful of what we ask at every time, because at the end of the day, anything that still happens still drop on the desk, and we share part of it. So in the process of actually coming out to demonstrate and ask for what we expect from the government, we still need to be mindful of not using it to create a futuristic problem. I'll give you an example.
Our time is up, unfortunately. Okay. We do not have time for examples now. Taiwo Gungbenro, Safety and Security Expert and Managing Director, Darafles Consulting Limited. Thank you for your time.